China has built some unbelievable things over the years, from skyscrapers to man-made islands. But beyond these, the latest project, a rare floating megabridge, tops the list of China's extraordinary inventions. The story of this floating giant began with a question that China kept asking itself. How do you keep a country of over 1 billion people moving forward? Literally, as cities expanded and the demand for new connections exploded, traditional bridges started reaching their limits. The landscapes were complex, waterways unpredictable, and building deep foundations became too expensive and too slow. That's when engineers decided to try something entirely new, a bridge that would rest on the water instead of piercing through it. The idea wasn't exactly new. Floating bridges have existed for centuries, mostly as temporary military solutions made from pontoons or barges. But what China set out to do was on a completely different scale. This wasn't a short river crossing or a temporary fix. This was a multi-kilometer marvel designed to carry thousands of vehicles every day, strong enough to survive storms, steady enough to support traffic, and smart enough to manage itself. Construction began in the early 2020s, a time when China was going all in on infrastructure as a way to strengthen its economy. This project demanded more than money or manpower. It demanded imagination. It asked engineers to dream beyond what had ever been built before, and to find a way to make steel and concrete float on living water. And the waters chosen for the bridge were anything but gentle. They shifted with tides that rose and fell like breathing, stirred by winds that could turn calm surfaces into chaos in minutes. Storms would roll in without warning, and the currents underneath were unpredictable, carving and reshaping the seabed over time. Building here was like trying to construct something solid on a moving floor. Every calculation had to consider not just structure and weight, but movement, rhythm, and balance. To survive in these waters, the bridge needed to be alive in its own way. It could not be rigid or stubborn. It had to flex, to move, to respond. So engineers turned to a modular design that could adapt instead of resist. They imagined a network of floating platforms that could shift slightly with the water, yet still stay firmly connected, maintaining strength without losing flexibility. It was an entirely new way of thinking about permanence in motion. Instead of one massive stretch of concrete, the bridge was made of thousands of connected floating modules. Each piece was crafted from reinforced concrete, mixed with advanced composite materials that resisted corrosion and absorbed stress. The combination made them incredibly strong, yet light enough to float steadily even under pressure. These units were not just pieces of structure. They were intelligent components designed to cooperate with each other. Each module was built in a specialized facility, tested carefully for buoyancy, balance, and durability. Once approved, they were loaded onto huge barges and transported across the sea to the construction site. There, under the open sky, teams of engineers and divers worked together to connect them one by one, locking them into place like pieces of a giant floating puzzle. Slowly, the bridge began to stretch across the water, transforming the restless waves into a pathway of possibility. From the surface, it looks seamless, but beneath, it's a complex network of buoyant pontoons anchored by deep-sea moorings that keep everything in perfect balance. The system is designed so that each section moves slightly with the waves, absorbing pressure without breaking apart. If one module ever gets damaged, it can be detached and replaced without shutting down the whole bridge. It's modular, flexible, and remarkably future-proof, and that's what makes it different. Traditional bridges resist nature. The China Floating Megabridge works with it. Instead of fighting against waves, tides, and shifting currents, it moves with them, an idea that feels both futuristic and ancient, like something inspired by nature itself. But beyond the engineering genius, the question remains: why build such a massive floating structure in the first place? The answer lies in both practicality and vision. The chosen waterway was wide and deep, with complex geology underneath. Building traditional supports there would have cost billions more and risked disrupting marine ecosystems. By going with a floating structure, engineers avoided drilling into the seabed, which not only reduced costs but also minimized environmental damage. That environmental sensitivity became one of the bridge's strongest points. Marine ecosystems remained largely untouched. Ships continued to move freely beneath. The construction left minimal footprint while achieving something extraordinary above. In many ways, the project became a quiet nod to sustainable progress, a rare balance between innovation and responsibility. But make no mistake, this wasn't just an eco-friendly experiment. It was also a technological powerhouse. Each floating section has sensors buried deep inside it, tiny systems that constantly collect data on stress, motion, water pressure, and weather conditions. This information gets sent in real time to a central monitoring hub that can detect even the smallest structural changes. When storms roll in, the system automatically adjusts the bridge's buoyancy and mooring tension to stay perfectly stable. It's like the bridge is alive, thinking and adapting every second. Material science also played a huge role in making it all possible. Regular concrete would crumble after years in salty water, so engineers developed new, high-strength composites mixed with anti-corrosive elements. They even used protective coatings to prevent algae and barnacles from clinging to the surface, something that could weigh it down over time. The result is a structure built to last decades with minimal maintenance, a floating fortress of engineering precision. But even with all the technical brilliance, there's an undeniable beauty to it. When the sun sets, the China Floating Megabridge transforms into a glowing ribbon that stretches across the horizon. Its lights reflect off the waves, creating a scene that feels almost surreal, like a city skyline that decided to take a swim. During the day, it's sleek and elegant, with curved lines that make it seem to glide effortlessly across the sea. The bridge isn't just for vehicles either. It was designed to be experienced. Pedestrian walkways and cycling paths line its edges, allowing people to actually stroll across the ocean. Some sections even have viewing platforms and rest stops where visitors can pause to take in the scenery. It's part infrastructure, part destination, a place where technology meets tranquility. And the impact it's had on nearby regions is massive. Travel times between major coastal zones have dropped dramatically. Businesses are thriving with faster transport routes, tourism has spiked, and remote communities once separated by water now feel connected to the mainland. For China, it's not just a bridge, it's a symbol of unity and progress, a reminder that innovation doesn't always have to look like a skyscraper. Sometimes it floats. Of course, when news first broke about the project, not everyone was convinced. Many doubted that something this huge could actually survive nature's fury. Typhoons, strong currents, and the constant motion of the sea all sounded like a recipe for disaster. But the engineers didn't just build it and hope for the best, they tested it through everything. Simulated storms, pressure experiments, seismic trials, you name it. And when real storms finally hit, the bridge stood firm, riding the waves just as it was designed to do. Over time, it became clear that this wasn't just a bold idea, it was a working reality. The bridge didn't just survive, it thrived. Every successful year made it a living case study for future infrastructure. Experts from around the world started flying in to study it, seeing if similar technology could be used elsewhere, in flood-prone regions, island nations, or even floating city projects that are already being discussed in urban planning circles. And that's where the story gets even more exciting. The China Floating Megabridge isn't an isolated achievement. It's a blueprint for what comes next. The same modular technology could lead to floating airports, energy platforms, or even residential cities that adapt to rising sea levels. What started as a transportation solution might end up reshaping how humanity thinks about living with water rather than against it. What's also fascinating is how this bridge captures the essence of modern China: ambitious, daring, and unafraid to dream bigger than the world expects. It combines the precision of Swiss engineering with the scale of Chinese vision. It's sleek, smart, and functional, but still poetic in how it connects people, places, and possibilities. You can almost feel that philosophy in every inch of it. Each section of concrete represents not just technical progress, but human courage, the willingness to try something no one else has done before. Every part of the bridge tells a story of late-night experiments, design revisions, and problem-solving moments that turned what once sounded absurd into something tangible. Even now, standing on the bridge feels surreal. The gentle sway beneath your feet reminds you that you're not on land, but it feels just as solid. Cars glide across quietly, waves shimmer below. The hum of technology and the rhythm of nature blend into one smooth pulse. It's strange, beautiful, and almost calming, a modern marvel that still feels alive. And beyond the concrete and cables lies something deeper, a lesson about how innovation really works. It's never about resisting what's around us. It's about understanding it, adapting to it, and finding strength and balance. Just like the bridge floats, not by fighting the sea, but by embracing it. Progress happens when we stop forcing the world to change for us, and instead learn to move with it. Today, the China Floating Megabridge stands as one of the greatest examples of what human imagination can do when it refuses to stay grounded. Literally, it has turned skeptics into believers and inspired a new generation of engineers to think beyond limits. Whether it's connecting isolated regions or sparking the idea of floating metropolises, its impact stretches far beyond the waters it crossed. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching till the end. What do you think of this mega bridge? Tell us in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video.